I recently made a video talking about STEPN, which is a play-to-earn cryptocurrency, which in my opinion has a fantastic and very enticing use case behind it. However, when something seems too good to be true, it usually is. So for the topic of today's discussion, I'm going to be talking about the longevity of STEPN as a project and why you should absolutely be skeptical before dumping bulk cash into it if you believe it's something that could potentially replace your day job. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Reese, and this article right here has asked a question that I want to dive a bit further into today. Are all play-to-earn games a Ponzi scheme? The concept behind earning money for exercising daily seems very enticing, and I can only assume that that would be amplified for people living in countries who are in the low earnings potential bracket. Imagine the feeling of being able to earn more money than what a normal wage pays in far less time. Of course, anyone who has access to something like this is going to consider doing it. Now, STEPN's entry barrier compared to its current earnings potential is what I would call low to medium at the time of recording this video. To get into the app to buy your first NFT sneaker to start earning GST, which is the in-game currency, you're looking at about a $2,000 to $2,500 investment at the low end. When the project first kickstarted earlier in the year, that entry barrier was sitting around the $500 mark. So as you can see, the value of these NFT sneakers have gone up because the player base and demand for them is growing. Meaning back then, if you came across this project, you're a seasoned runner, someone who likes to exercise daily, and saw this and went, I can make my initial investment back very quickly. I can only imagine their eyes would be watering. Now, in my opinion, the idea behind the STEPN app is a really positive one. It entices people to get out and about and exercise in exchange for a reward, which in my opinion is only going to promote the commitment of exercise for people who may not need to exercise, but it's a little bonus for what they do in their routine anyway, and it might actually get some people up off their asses, which again, I think it's a really positive use case. However, keeping that in mind, it is still very important to understand how these play-to-earn projects can cause upset when the money stops flowing, especially to people who buy into these projects after they've been up and running for a while. This is the main reason why I personally have not invested any of my own money into this project or any play-to-earn projects that are available at the time of recording this video. I had the opportunity to buy into STEPN from very early on, and I chose not to purely based off of the fact that I have been burned from other projects that had promising prospects where now I've actually lost the investment I made on them. It doesn't look like it's ever going to be recuperated, and that is a lesson learned from me. So it's made me a lot more skeptical before putting money into projects that seem too good to be true, is the simple way to put it. And what drove me to this reason was the answer to the most important question you need to understand the answer to when looking at investing in projects like STEPN, which ultimately is the topic of today's discussion. The most important question to ask is, where are the users getting the money from to cash out? In most circumstances, the developers raise capital in a liquidity pool, and then from there, they use that as a draw-in to begin building a player base. Early on, as the player base grows and people invest their own money into the game, the amount players are able to earn is far less than what is being deposited back into that liquidity pool, which is holding up the value of that project. This is great because the earlier you are means the more money you can make, and you will be able to make that money for longer whilst building up your profile to increase your earnings potential whilst earning throughout that period of time. Where if you are one of these very lucky people to be in early, you are going to make back your initial investment relatively quickly and be able to ride the wave, taking out profits as you go along. So it doesn't really matter if the project crashes or not for you, because you are in a position to just make bank basically. However, as I mentioned, this entire model only works if new players are investing their own money into the project. Once we reach the inflection point of more players withdrawing their earnings than money flowing into the project from new investors, a turn takes place where we see that pool of money start to decrease at a faster rate than it increases. This is where we might start to see the value of said token begin on a downtrend, and depending on how fast that scenario plays out, we could really see it start crashing and burning very quickly. So does this mean that all play to earn games like STEPN are doomed from the very beginning and we just haven't seen STEPN reach that point of crashing and burning just yet? The simple answer is no, not necessarily, and the more long-winded answer goes something like this. If the project, game, or app can create a sustainable source of revenue to meet the demand, then its survivability could be long-lasting and prosperous for its users. And that sounds pretty simple in theory, but still could be very difficult to implement. And some ideas from a very high level in regard to STEPN, for example, would be seeing them bring on board advertisers who align with the general business model, which STEPN is all about activity and exercise in the format of running, walking, and jogging. Imagine the scenario where companies like Nike, Adidas, or New Balance all pay to have their brands advertised through the app. Additionally, with STEPN in particular, there are a set of burn mechanics built into the game itself with the intention of keeping the supply of GST stable. STEPN has built this into their game by both forcing and making it optional for users to spend their earned GST on in-game upgrades as well as maintenance requirements to continue earning that GST. And just a few examples of what this looks like would be things like repairing their shoes, leveling them up, opening mystery boxes, and combining lower level gems to upgrade them for better perks within the game. Another thing I really like about STEPN as well, after watching my friend play this game every single day, pretty much since month 1 or 2 since it was released. You have to go watch my other video on the topic to get a better understanding of his situation, because that's where all these videos have stemmed from. But basically, the mechanics behind the game do not really encourage users to withdraw their earnings into different currencies. They really encourage you to replay, reuse what you're earning to invest it back into the app to increase that earnings potential. And if you're having fun while doing it, I don't see why you would necessarily be cashing out every single day, every single amount of GST you earn, unless you're really, really money hungry. Like, it really does promote playing the game and reinvesting what you earn in it to upgrade and get better at it. Another thing I really like about STEPN is that the game mechanics don't really encourage users to withdraw their earnings and basically deplete the fund that is keeping the value of the token there. If anything, it encourages or incentivizes users to reinvest into the game, and it makes it really enticing because of that upgrade feature. Being able to put money back into it and grow your earnings is only going to be exciting, especially if it's something that you're going to continue using well into the future. I've actually watched this happen with my friend where he's gone, all right, I'm going to pull out my initial investment. I'm now making several $100s a day. And he's gone, but if I upgrade to this level, then I'll be able to do that in a shorter period of time. Plus the value of GST is going up. It just makes sense from my perspective to continue playing this game, leveling up. And at some point I will eventually start to take some money out just to break even. So as someone who's been doing it for months, being my friend, go watch my other video if you want to see his story, he's making several $100s a day, but he's finding it really difficult not to reinvest it into the game because he's really enjoying playing it and he doesn't necessarily need the money right now. I've told him, you probably should take out your initial investment, but the point that I'm trying to make is that it really does get people involved in playing, and it doesn't necessarily say just withdraw what you're earning and make big bucks. Like, there's actually game mechanics behind it. It's enticing, it's fun, and that's a really positive thing that I think will keep players interested in playing. And this kind of leads me into an issue that a lot of projects like this face, even with the burn mechanics in place. If the player base grows too quickly and the number of GST tokens being minted creates an oversupply or oversaturation of them, basically inflation of the tokens, we will probably see the value of these tokens drop significantly, as it's the same with dollars. If there is an oversupply or there are too many of them in play, every time a new one is created, they become less rare and less unique, making them less valuable. This is no different to how governments print money in excess. Every dollar they print inflates the supply, and using the past as an example, if the supply increases too quickly, everything comes crashing down. Zimbabwe's currency is probably the best example, where they printed a $100 trillion banknote, which was released by the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe during the peak of Zimbabwe's massive hyperinflation period in early 2008. For perspective, today that banknote is worth about 40 cents in US dollars. Another thing which usually causes projects like this to fail is a reduced interest in player base. This is where, in my opinion, STEPN's model is really quite smart because of two main reasons. The first being that it encourages a really good and healthy habit, being regular exercise. The second is that it needs an initial investment, people to actually put their own money into the project to be able to begin earning the currency out of it and playing the game, which in my opinion will cause players to continue playing for a long period of time. It will bring them back every day, every second day, however often they're exercising, but in my opinion, it will keep the consistency of the player base. Even if someone like my friend Luke, who is the person I talk about in my previous video on the topic because he's the one making the big bucks. If you haven't watched that video yet, I highly encourage you to go and give it a watch. I think it's a really good video. It explains a lot about the app if you are interested in getting involved, and I've left a link down in the description below if you are interested in watching that. While you're down there, hit the subscribe button as well. But even if he and his daily earnings drop from where it is now, roughly $500 to $650 a day the last time I asked him at the time of recording this video, which is pretty substantial. Even if that dropped down to $20 a day, let's say the price tanks, that's by more than a factor of 10. That's a pretty big drop. Like, that's really significant. He's still going to go for runs every day. He is an elite runner. It's something that isn't going to stop him playing the game. 20 bucks a day is still $140 across a 7-day week. That is nuts to someone, regardless of if he's making just absolute bonkers money, which he is at the moment, versus $140 a week. It's still going to entice him to use the app and continue playing the game. So simply put, what I'm trying to say here is that I do believe that the game mechanics behind STEPN is going to keep its player base, keep them enticed, keep them coming back every single day for a long period of time, even if the price reduces significantly. On top of this as well, it seems like the developers of this app have big plans still to come with future releases of introducing new and enticing ways for people to invest in the project. One in particular is in the format of collaborating with brands to release collectible NFTs on the platform, which will, for a period of time, in my opinion, add a bit of excitement to the project. They are also looking to introduce things like a quest system, rental system, and achievement system later on in the year, where if it's fun and exciting to play, it will keep people on their feet. Literally. For now, I will be keeping up to date with how my friends who have chosen to invest into STEPN are tracking, and I will make some update videos along the way because I think it's pretty exciting and interesting content to be talking about. And at the moment, at the time of recording this video, it seems like it's taken the world by storm. I think the takeaway from today's video is that when users constantly cash out, that is not a healthy model for any type of project. If the developers at STEPN can keep users interested by making the game difficult enough to max out and make it actually a challenge to earn within, I think that again, the user base will continue to grow and the number of people playing will continue to grow as well. They're not going to just buy into it and then stop playing willy-nilly. And this is where I answer the question from the very beginning of the video. I personally do not believe that all play to earn projects are Ponzi schemes. However, I do believe it is incredibly important to understand, like I said, the answer to that one main question. Where is the money coming from for users to be cashing out? And if you can answer that and understand what is behind it, then you should be able to make an informed decision based on your own research as to whether or not you want to invest in a project like this. Like I said, there's a lot of good things to come. If STEPN and the developers provide and deliver, I can only see it growing. If they don't, that liquidity pool will eventually reach a point, that inflection point, that tipping point where its users are withdrawing more money than what is coming in from new players, new investors, and that's going to be a bad time for everyone involved if they are relying on it to make money. Time will tell whether or not STEPN becomes another statistic in the world of play to earn projects failing, crashing, and burning. There's no FUD here, just a discussion. That's pretty much where I'm going to leave you today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope I made you think about the topic. I hope I provided some insight on why these types of projects crash and burn and how they work. And if I did, please hit that like, subscribe button down below. It really does help the channel grow. I really do appreciate the support. And that's pretty much it. Have a good day, have a good week. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.